Well, here we are at sitting on the front porch again. I'm grateful for you guys that are following, and please subscribe and share, share, share. So today, like normally do all the time, is give you the one sentence explanation of the gross receipts tax. And this is what it is. This is a little review. It's a 5% tax on all goods and services sold in the state, included in the price of whatever is sold, sent in by sellers only, and replaces all other taxes, fees, assessments, permits, and licenses. So no more property tax, no more personal property tax, no income tax, no fees. You still have to get a permit, and you still have to get your licenses, but you don't have to pay for them. So that's our one sentence to kind of introduce the gross receipts tax. I haven't been doing this for a couple of weeks, or maybe a little bit longer, because I had to go to Nevada and um, fix my car that was full of mice problems. Can you imagine your car conking out because the mice got in there and started eating up the wires? This is so frustrating. So now what I've done is so now I've come up with a program for getting rid of mice, and I'll just name a couple here because maybe you'll run across one of these as well. Um, I found out that Irish Spring soap is good if you put it all around the car because they don't like the smell, and also stainless steel wool. Put that into various little holes in your car, and they won't go through that. And I heard vamoose is good, and um, and of course poison traps, and uh, and and now I just got a hold of this today. Uh, my daughter phoned me up and said that there's somebody at the hospital that wants to get rid of cats. So there's my program for the mice. Uh, we wanted to talk about tariffs this time, the theory of tariffs, and the first one we want to talk about, tariffs. They're called tariffs and they're taxes, but they are uh, they're they're for international trade. That's what tariffs are for international trade. And what it's supposed to do is even up the playing field, because some international countries that are selling things into the United States have a much lower cost of living and maybe a lot lower production um, costs. So if they just sell straight into the United States that way with no tariffs, then their prices will be much lower than American made products because of the wage differences and cost of living and production costs. So, so United States levies tariffs. That's what countries do. They levy tariffs so that they can level the playing field in the marketplace. Uh, United States hasn't done that for more than a half century, and as a result of that, things that are coming into the United States come in with no tariffs to equalize the marketplace. But everything that goes out of the United States into their country, they have tariffs. And so we just recently addressed that, and um, and now everybody's got their hair in the air about it. But the reason that this happened is because we, the people, have done this to ourselves. And let me illustrate this with a little story. Okay, when you go to the hardware store and you want to buy a hammer, what's the first thing you look at? 90% of the people will say the price. And then they'll say, "What?" I ask, "What's the second thing you ask that you look at?" And they say, "The quality." And then the third thing that they look at is where it's made. So the quality has been increased from foreign products that are coming in because the technology is so rampant and easy to duplicate over there as well as here. And so the quality is not such a big problem as it was before. I can remember years ago when we would get tools or something, we'd go to the hardware store and I'd say, "Oh, look, this was made by the J.A. Pan Company." Well, you can't say that anymore because the tools that are coming from Japan are equal to the quality of the United States ones. So, so what happens is because the cost is cheaper, we'll buy the cheaper one because we want to save money on the price. What we've done though inadvertently is we have pushed all of our industry offshore, and because they can't compete with the prices that are coming in from foreign countries. In fact, what some of our countries have done is they've moved their production to foreign countries so that they can take advantage of shipping it back with no tariffs. And so, things like some tools, or even they're doing it in bigger industries as well. They do the production and they do the assembly and they do everything else offshore, and then they ship it back under the name of some American company. And so there's two things that happen. One is they can compete in the marketplace, but two, we don't have American workers working at it. So that's the reason for the tariffs, and I know that we're only looking short term at the price that is increasing when we're implementing tariffs, and we only look at the price then and see that it's cheaper, and so they do it. What they don't think about though is the number of jobs that they've shipped overseas. And now Americans are looking for jobs and unemployment problems. So that's the problem with tariffs. It's meant to even up the field if both people are independent. But now what's happened, of course, is it comes back under an American name, and so we go and say, "Yeah, I remember this name. It's a good American name. It's a good product." And then you look in the back and it says, "Made in some foreign country." See, that's the problem that we're facing right now, and the current administration is getting into trying to level a playing field, but we as consumers and as business people are only looking at the price and not the fact that we've done this to ourselves. So that's the theory behind tariffs. It's it's a quick overview of it, but we only are interested in it because it affects our price right now and our businesses right now, and not recognizing what we did a half a century or more ago. We did this to ourselves. Okay, so that's the theory of tariffs, and it's used for international trade to even up the playing field. Um, the next one I want to address here uh, is property tax and domestic taxes. What's the theory behind that? The theory behind particularly property taxes, and this is what happens. Um, Originally, Egypt was the one that implemented this, and they would go and talk to the local farmers, and they'd figure out how many hectares of crops they had, and then they figure out a percentage of what they're going to take for to support the government and the pharaohs and the dancing girls, and um, uh, and so that was originally done in Egypt, but this was picked up later on. It was used during the Middle Ages uh, by uh, landlords. Usually, landlords got their land by the use of eminent domain, or it would be inherited, or they would do it by conquest. And then they'd get all this land, and then they didn't want to work it themselves. They had more important things to do, like go to balls and go ride their horses and stuff. So they got peasants to do the work, and they would. So the landlord owned the land. Downton Abbey is a good example of this. They had they in the villages and things like that were all the people that worked for Downton Abbey, and they would pay rent. Okay, and so the three elements for this were the landlord, the peasants, and rent. That was the basis for our exact system that we have today. Okay, only the names have changed. Okay, and what I mean by that is instead of a landlord, it's the government, and instead of peasants, it's taxpayers. Instead of rent, it's property tax. And if you don't think that the government owns your land, you just stop paying property tax for a while, and you'll be standing on the courthouse steps watching your property get auctioned off while you try to explain to your children that we don't have a house anymore. This is totally, totally wrong. Once you buy something, it should be yours. But that's the system and the theory behind property tax. Now, of course, there's lots of other taxes, user taxes and everything else, and they piled on taxes on everything. And particularly, I don't know about every other state, but I do know, I counted them up actually until I got tired, of other taxes, all the taxes in Missouri. In fact, I would, there's pages of them. There's like 96 pages of taxes, and it's only, so I started counting them up, and I quit at about page 10, and then I just took the average of them and multiplied it by the number of pages there were of taxes. You know how many taxes there are in Missouri? Over 4,700 taxes. And you have to recognize that every one of those taxes requires somebody that watches it and calculates it and corrects and collects it. Okay? And so that's a lot of paperwork that is useless unless you're tracking it. So the third one that I want to talk about for just a second is the theory behind the gross receipts tax. This is and as I mentioned right at the beginning of this, the tax is included in the price of whatever is bought, sent in by sellers only, and when you pay for it, you're done. Think about that for a second. You just pay the sticker price, and it's yours, and that applies to everything that you buy, whether it's a loaf of bread or a house. So no property tax, no income tax, no personal property tax, no inheritance tax, no fees, no assessments, no permits, no licenses. You only have one. You only have one tax as a consumer that you would be paying, but it's included in the price of whatever you bought, and the seller is obligated to send it in. The details of this are in the web page, which is taxliberty.org. And if you look that up, you can find out lots more information, the details about it and stuff like that. What's happened over the last, I don't know, century or so, is the government has expanded their role as owners of everything. And we're just paying rent for our personal property that should be ours, and not recognizing their real proper role as a government. This is a constitutional government, and it's different than anything else in the world. This was an experiment that took away the kings and the lords and all the uh, high muckies that want to run the whole thing, including your life. So so the the uh, the experiment of the United States, and this is really important. The experiment of the United States is included in the Constitution of the United States with these first three words: "We the people." We're supposed to be in charge. The government are supposed to do services for us, and they're our servants, and we elect them to make sure that they do that. That's why we have elections every so often, so we can kick out the guys that don't do what they're supposed to do, or they're more interested in their political careers than they are in we the people. So the idea of a gross receipts tax is two things. Uh, it's we the people are being served. Secondly, there's four elements to a tax system. One is uh, it has to be as fair as possible. It has to be equally applied to everyone. You can't uh, do one tax for one group of people and then another rate for another group of people. Uh, it has to be fairly administered. The second thing it has to do is it has to raise enough money to fully fund the government. And the third thing it has to do is it has to interfere with the marketplace as little as possible. And the reason for that is, is that's a perfect place for the government to get involved and start to do social engineering. Okay, for instance, if you go and buy marijuana here in Missouri, maybe the regular tax is like 8%, sales tax or whatever. Um, if you go buy marijuana, though, the tax is like 34%. And the reason that it's a differentiated tax system is because we as a society have decided that we want to change people's habits about using marijuana or alcohol or other things we deem it as evil and or harmful. And then what we do is we charge more tax on that to to have people buy or use less of it because we know better than they do. So that's the third. That's the third thing is um, uh, it can't have a differentiated price. That's why you have as little as possible in the marketplace uh, making the decision, and the people should make it the decision, not the social engineering people. And the fourth one is it has to be fair. It has to be uh, raise enough money. It has to keep out of the social engineering stuff. And the last one is where the gross receipts tax shines, okay? Because it has to be as efficiently collected as possible. And so you don't have a lot of paperwork. The system is so simple and so perfect, right? You buy it, the tax is included in the price of whenever you bought. It's sent in by sellers only, and as a consumer, as soon as you buy it, it's yours, no matter what it is. And the seller is obligated to send in the tax to the government. And if they don't send it in, okay, then what happens is they get a civil penalty and not a criminal penalty. So the government just goes and starts fining them until they finally say, "I give up. I got it from the consumer anyway. I'm going to send it in and keep myself not out of jail because you don't go to jail, but it's a civil penalty, and I guess you would sooner or later lose your business or something. So just pass it on. Just it's only 5%. Just pass it on." So those are the four things of a good tax system, a good theory. That's the theory of it. And who should pay for it? Okay, who should pay for it? Well, the only exchange that we're having in the economy in this situation are buyers and sellers. And so this is where the role of government comes in. Okay, the role of government is to do three main things. The role of government is one, to protect the citizens. They're supposed to be protecting the citizens. There's been a lot of stuff on the news about that lately. At any rate, that's what this government's supposed to do, is they're supposed to protect the citizens. The second thing that they're supposed to do is to provide a tranquil environment for the people to conduct their lawful business in the state. Okay? We want a tranquil environment for the people to get along about their lawful business. And the third thing, which is probably the most important thing for us as citizens and business people, is that the government is to provide an infrastructure for the efficient exchange of goods and services. And that means roads and police and court systems and all the other things that the government provides to allow people to get along about their business and to exchange goods and services. Well, that infrastructure has to be paid for. And right now what's happening is they're collecting taxes from everything they can in order to maintain that infrastructure, when the most efficient way to do it is to put a little bit of tax on the goods and services that use that infrastructure to get the goods and services from where they are to you, and they put that in the price, included in the price of whatever they sell to you, and that way it's paid for through the marketplace. That's who should be supporting the infrastructure necessary for us to get the economy to work. So that's the essence of the gross receipts tax. The marketplace pays for everything, and the marketplace is so powerful. You have no idea how powerful just a little tiny nick on every sale, whether it's wholesale or retail, and of course services. And the people that receive it, the sellers, send it in, and as a buyer or a consumer, you don't have to worry about it ever again. Whatever you bought, it's yours. So that's the essence of the gross receipts tax. There's only one tax. It fully funds the government, and it does all the things that we, as citizens, want the government to do for us, without coming and begging for more and more taxes. They're taxing things that we already bought, and they're coming to us again a year and say, okay, we want you to pay for this again, and we want you to pay for this again, and if you don't pay for it, guess what? It's ours, and we'll sell it. And the other thing that happens is every so often they have auditors that come in and audit the counties and things like that. Do you know what the biggest asset on the counties are? You know, you have all the budgets and everything, and those are liabilities. But the liabilities and the assets have to equal out at the bottom of the balance sheet. Do you know what the number one asset is in the county? It's enforceable liens. Think about that for a second. What are they liening? They're liening all of our property and all of our things. That's why you go down every year and buy a license for your vehicle. Why? Because you're going to be using it on their roads. And they say, if you're going to use it on their roads, you have to have a license to be able to do it, or you can't drive on their roads. So the gross receipts tax is the ultimate user tax. You only pay for it when you use it. For instance, you buy something and it's included in the price of whatever you bought. Just like gasoline. You don't go down and pay extra tax on your gasoline at the gas pump, and you don't get a bill for it at the end of the year. Of course, unless you own an EV vehicle, then they say, oh, we're going to charge you for having an EV vehicle because you're using our roads and you're not paying for it because we're all paying for it through gas tax. That's the wrong way to do it because the roads should be independently funded from the general fund. See? So it is a little irritating to buy a brand new Tesla and then find out you have to go get a license to drive on roads because you don't do taxes on gas. Irritating. Okay, there are lots of things in detail on the GRT. Gross receipts tax, I sometimes refer to it as a great tax. It's a gross receipts tax. You only pay it when you interact with the economy, and it's included in the price as a consumer in whatever you buy or use. And so next time, please look up taxliberty.org. It has lots and lots of good information, and you can even read about the people who wrote this. Okay, and I'm number 3 on that list. There were 3 of us. There was Dale Crabtree, who was the kindest, brightest person I have ever run across. He was generous to a fault, but he had a mind like a steel trap. He was the one that led us through this maze, and he was the architect of most of these ideas. And he's dead now. He's 90. He died at age 99. And but his career was a federal administrative law judge. And so the article that we wrote to get on the ballot originally, he hammered those words until they were perfect. And the other one was Bruce Holliday, who was the salesman and the fundraiser person, and he was he could sell snow to an Eskimo. He was the one that got the thing all ready to go on the ballot and everything else. And I was the third one. My contribution was making comments on the article or changing a few things or coming up with a new idea or something like that to solve it. And but my career was in international development. And if you go to the about across the top at the front page, you'll see other things like home and if you go into about, it'll go and talk about each one of us as contributors to the original one. We added Paul Venable because he's our computer guy, and he knows that, and he's also knows the Constitution. He memorized the Constitution. I'll bet you a good percentage of our legislators had never even read the Constitution, let alone memorized it. Anyways, he's very, very cognizant of that. So please follow, please subscribe, and share, and please make some comments if you have any things that you want to say. And also, there's a big button on the website that says, "How can I help?" And if you press that, it'll tell you how you can help. The next time we're going to have this podcast, hopefully it'll be a little shorter than this last one. I got the mouse problem that delayed us. But the next time we talk, we're going to talk about local taxing districts and projects and how they're to be funded. We figured this all out 30 years ago, and now we have the perfect situation in Kansas City about the stadiums that they want to. I call it here the stadium debacle, because the way that they have it planned for it being funded is is totally crazy. When we already have it done, it was done 30 years ago, and just with a couple little things, it would be not burdening the people with with using their personal assets as collateral, and nor increasing the price of things so astronomical that nobody can pay for it, or taking it out of slush funds and doing Peter stealing from Peter to pay Paul in the other budgets by shifting things around. It takes care of all of that. It's the perfect solution. So if you get a chance to phone your legislator, you say, "I'm interested in the gross receipts tax, and and this is the website." Thank you very much for listening. I appreciate this. This is uh, this is going to be so revolutionary in Missouri. Uh, it'll be like uh, Lewis and Clark. We will be pointing the rest of the world to Missouri, and this will sweep the country. You watch. And I'm thankful you listened, and maybe we'll do it again next week, or it might be 2 weeks. Who knows? Thank you very much for listening.